Hello and welcome to the video. My name is Wade Smith, and I am a first Q or black belt candidate in Ishinru Karate, or at least I was when I was 20 to 20 something years old. I've since had 2 strokes, so I'm no longer able to fight at the level I used to be able to fight. But when I was 20 years old and testing for my black belt, which I never actually got due to not being able to remember Sun Tzu Kata, I was already fighting at about the 3rd or 4th degree black belt equivalent, but because I couldn't memorize the last kata to get a 1st degree black belt, I never actually got a black belt in Ishinru Karate. However, whenever I was testing for my 1st degree black belt, one of the things my old sensei used to do is put 2 second dan black belts against me, and they were told to attack me all out, and I could beat both of them attacking me simultaneously. One of them was a 235-pound heavyweight ex-Marine, and the other was a 155-pound lightweight who was 1 year younger than me at the time. And they could attack me simultaneously, and without fail, I could catch the lightweight in a wrist lock and kick his guts out until he tapped out or shouted, "I quit," and keep his body between me and the heavyweight. And then when he tapped out or shouted, "I quit," I could throw him aside and then defeat the heavyweight black belt, 2nd degree black belt, who was an 8-year veteran of the Marine Corps at sparring, full contact. We were wearing headgear and roughly 2-ounce sparring gloves and roughly 2-ounce sparring footgear, and that's all we were allowed to wear. The men were allowed to wear a cup if they wanted to, and groin kicks were encouraged for street self-defense purposes. But we were so good at leg checking groin kicks that nobody ever got hit by a groin kick. But anyway, I have a warning to Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belts because I've actually been a 2-year member altogether of Gracie United Dojo, and I was able to tap out the professional fighters who train there by real grappling rules, just straight out of Ishinru Karate. From all the grappling I learned in Ishinru Karate, I was able to tap out his 2nd-degree black belts at the Gracie United Dojo, and including one who had 20 professional wins in full contact professional MMA. But they would never spar me in starting from a standing position where I was allowed to punch and kick either. Once they knew that I was an Ishinru Karate student, they flat out refused to spar me in stand up because they knew I would beat the tar out of them. And when they saw in circuit training, when they saw how hard I could hit a 200 and some odd pound standing water bag, the instructor was afraid of me, and he took me off the 200-pound standing water bag and put me on about a 500-pound hanging bag that was filled with sand and lead shot. And that's what he wanted me to practice my punches on and kicks on. And so I finished the circuit training on a bag that's about 500 pounds filled with lead shot and sand, because the 220 something pound standing water bag wasn't heavy enough for me to even get a workout on. So if you are a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu practitioner and you're not allowed to fight karate strikers, real Okinawan style karate strikers, such as Ishinru, Goju-ryu, Shorin-ryu, or Uchi-ryu, if you've never actually fought someone like that and defeated them, you are deceiving yourself. Ishinru Karate holds an open invitational tournament every couple of years where anybody of any style is allowed to join, and they win the competition every single time. They prove that they are about 2 belt ranks better than any other style every single time. And they have a world open competition every couple of years. They do it at least once every 5 years just to be safe. And if they fail to be 2 or 3 belt ranks better than any other style, they increase their teaching standards again. So if you have never defeated a real Okinawan karate brown or black belt in a sparring match, you probably are deceiving yourself about what you can actually accomplish with whatever jiu-jitsu skills you have or think you have. And that's the end of my warning to Brazilian jiu-jitsu ranked fighters such as black belts. And MMA is not the same thing as a street fight. All right. If I fought an MMA champion in a street fight, he would be so used to following the the no contact rules of different types, that I would beat him before he even realized he was in a no rules fight. Because about half of all real submissions are either directly or indirectly banned in the MMA Unified World Rules now. And a lot of them are banned simply because they say in the Unified World Rules, and I quote, "We want the fights to last longer than 10 seconds," end quote. It's not a matter of safety that those moves are banned. They're banned because in Isshinryu, we were taught to win any street self-defense fight or military engagement fight in 10 seconds or less. And the moves that Isshinryu uses that are banned in the UFC are banned not for safety reasons. I can apply them without permanently hurting you and still win a fight in 10 seconds or less. But they are banned specifically because the rule book says that the MMA Unified World Rules wants the fights to last longer than 10 seconds artificially. About 90% of all street self-defense situations are over within 10 seconds. The victim is either killed or maimed within 10 seconds. So the 10-second rule in Isshinryu Karate is the rule that says you have 10 seconds to win the fight, no matter how many attackers you already know or think you know are attacking you. So if you're being attacked by 2 people, you have to beat the tar out of each of them in 5 seconds or less and hope that there isn't a third attacker. If you already know there are 3 attackers, you need about 3 1/3 seconds to defeat each of them and hope there isn't a 4th attacker, and so on. That's what we call the 10-second rule of street self-defense or military self-defense. In a street fight, if I was fighting Israel Adesanya, I'm not going to punch him in the nose or the jaw or even the temple. I'm going to punch him in the throat. Well, actually, against him, I would grab his hand and apply a front wrist lock that he always sticks out in space when he fights and leaves out hanging out like a fool. I would grab his hand out of the air and then kick his guts and groin out in a real street fight. That's what I would do to Israel Adesanya. He has terrible bad habits, and it came as no surprise to me that Sean Strickland beat the living tar out of him in the match. He almost won and probably should have won in the first round, because had it been anybody else getting beat up by Sean Strickland that badly, the referee would have stopped it due to unanswered strikes. But for some reason, they let Israel Adesanya keep fighting. And if I were a judge, I would have given that round to Sean Strickland 10-8. But anyway, Sean Strickland beat the living tar out of Israel Adesanya. Adesanya managed to survive all 5 rounds, if I remember right. But it wasn't even a close match. So anyway, if you think you can beat me by Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu grappling, such as shooting in on me or trying to just eat a punch or a kick or something, even in MMA rules, if I punch you, I punch about twice as hard as most middleweights. And my natural body weight, if I weren't a type 2 diabetic, when I was exercising 20-something hours per week, my natural body weight was 185 pounds. So I'm a natural middleweight. If I punch you as hard with my right fist as I can still punch about twice as hard as any active UFC middleweight with my right hand, even though I'm medically disabled in my left hand and both feet now. I have numbness and diabetic nerve pain in all of my limbs. But with my right, I've tested it on a force meter, and I can still punch about twice as hard as any UFC middleweight that I'm aware of. And I can kick about 2 or 3 times harder than any UFC middleweight that I'm aware of. I can kick you 1 time in your solar plexus or kidney, and that will be the end of the fight as hard as I can kick. I can kick a 225-pound standing water bag and send it airborne 10 feet across a room, and the only thing that stops it is the wall on the far side of the room. Do you understand me? Those people never trained as hard as I trained back in the day when I was 20 years old, and I can still kick that hard, even though my feet are numb, my upper leg isn't numb. And the upper leg is where you generate the upper leg, and your butt muscles are where you generate most of the force in kicks. All right. But I'm just letting you know, if you think you can soak one or two of my punches or kicks as a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt, no, you cannot. It doesn't matter if it's UFC rules or dojo sparring rules or if it's real street fight rules. If you think you can soak a punch from a real Ishinryu trained black belt or a kick from a real Ishinryu trained brown or black belt, you can't do it. It will knock you on your ass in one hit. You understand me? So you can't shoot in on me and expect to beat me. If you lower your head and try to shoot, I'm going to knee strike you so hard that it's going to break your jaw. Is how hard I'm going to knee strike you if you try to shoot in on me. So you are deceiving yourself with having 30 or 40 or 50 rules in the UFC and in other MMA leagues that you think you're beating real A+ strikers. No, you're not. Those aren't real A+ strikers. When a real A+ striker hits you one time, it will break something in your face or it will break your ribs if they hit your rib cage in 4-ounce gloves. Muhammad Ali was a real A+ striker, and he knocked out George Foreman with his jab. And it probably wasn't even a full strength jab. And he was in 16-ounce gloves. If he hit you in 4-ounce gloves, it would crush your jaw.